with our language, with our kinship. I think that there's a lot of work to do on my land to restore what has been devastated.
Testing new ideas, kind of creating new ways and approaches of doing things. And so I think that even though philanthropy, and I know it's part of the conversation we want to have in terms of where it also comes from.
Here at COP15 interviewing Christian. We're asking him about the GYBN. Yes.
Okay, super. So the GYBN is the Global Youth Biodiversity Network. We are a global network of people like you and me that want to protect biodiversity.
So you're one of the founders of this organization?
Yeah, that's true.
Wow. What
Of
kind of projects do you guys do?
Oh, we do all sort of things. So we have like over 700 member organizations, like youth organizations that are part of the network. And then we have 55 chapters in countries from like Rwanda, South Africa, Germany, all the way to like Canada. And for instance, there are people that go into schools to like share information about biodiversity with like students. We have people that do projects in the forest that fight against deforestation. We have people that meet with politicians to advocate for biodiversity policies.
I'm here with Shweta from India, and we're going to do a little interview with her. Alright, so our first question is, how did you join the organization?
Okay, so basically, like the fact that there's a COP happening in your home country, there was a COP that happened in my country, in India, in 2012. And I was just finishing high school, and then I knew that the school COP was happening, and I was doing a lot of organizing of youth work in my country. And I was like, okay, there's a COP happening, and I love nature, and I love biodiversity, maybe I can join it. So I went to the COP, and that's when I met the Global Youth Biodiversity Network. They were much smaller then, but it was when I thought I really liked the people, and I really liked the movement, because it was so close to my heart, being nature as it is, and I always wanted to study like wildlife at that time, so that's when I joined it.
Hi everyone, this is Melina Sakiyama. I'm from Brazil, and I am one of the people that have been involved in the Global Youth Biodiversity Network since the beginning. And I just wanted to share with you guys some of the objectives that our community has collectively sort of like come together, discussed, and has defined as some of the priorities. So like, as you might know, like we are facing like a global crisis, like a global ecological crisis. So you have seen in the newspapers how like our biodiversity, like so our nature is kind of suffering, the climate, like also the crisis post-pandemic, so like how the whole world is facing economic issues, like poverty, increased disparity between incomes and wealth. And what we in the community has reached the conclusion is that all of that has the same root causes. All of that is part of the same global crisis, the same global socio-ecological crisis that is being pushed and being driven by, I think, like our own priorities, right? When we decide that we prioritize profit over people's lives, but there are groups of people or groups of companies or groups of interests that are taking that priority. And that is the choice that is turning our climate, our nature, our planet, our home, our lives like this, like a huge mess, a huge crisis, and putting everybody at risk. So for us in the network, it's important that we recognize that some of our priorities and some of like the most powerful people in the world priorities might not be what we want collectively as people, right? So I think from now on, I think everybody, like, and our community is doing so here in Montreal this time, where we are having this huge meeting, is the UN Summit on Biodiversity. And all the countries of the world are gathered here this week to decide how we, as a collective community of people on Earth, is gonna be treating nature and biodiversity like for the coming years, right? And so for this moment, like our community has worked together with other different networks as well and are here to push that they think about like justice and equity for people and nature. So this is one of the biggest priorities that we have, and it's the biggest goal, to see that this plan in how we're going to deal with biodiversity takes into consideration that we live in an unequal world. And if we don't fix that, if we don't start looking at that, it doesn't matter whatever like framework, policy, legislation comes out of it, it's not going to help us bridge the gap. And it's just going to keep kind of perpetuating this unequal system that we're living. So I think finally, you know, like many of us are realizing we are all living the same socio-ecological crisis, and to start with, we need to think about equity. Equity between generations, equity within generations, and equity between all species on Earth, right? So I think that's the only way we can really like dream of a future in harmony with nature that is fair and just and really kind, you know, to everybody. Thank you so much.